We're in the Uffizi, and we're looking at a still life painting by a Dutch artist whose name is Ruysch.
Ruysch was incredibly successful during her very long career. She painted from the time she was in her teens until she was in her 80s.
More than 60 years. And you can see why her paintings were so wildly popular. In fact, her paintings regularly sold for double what Rembrandt's paintings sold for.
In Holland, artists specialized in certain types of paintings. Artists like Rembrandt painted portraits. Others like Rachel Ruysch painted still life paintings. Others like Ruysdael painted landscapes. They were painting for a widening merchant class in 17th century Holland.
She specialized in flowers, but this particular painting is fruit and insects.
And seems to be about the autumn, the subject of the harvest, fruits and vegetables that are harvested in the autumn. Corn, we have squash,
chestnuts, and grapes, but also wheat. And this reminds us that still lifes were often not only simple representations of items that might be put on a table, but would have symbolic value.
Any Christian looking at this painting in the 17th century would have seen the wheat and the grapes and thought of the Eucharist, of the sacrament of communion, of the body and blood of Christ.
The bread and the wine.
And it's also important to realize that this is not just a scene that she would have assembled on the table and painted. This is likely a composite of studies of grapes, studies of peaches, studies of plums, studies of a nest with eggs in it, studies of a butterfly that are then combined imaginatively into this composition.
Into a microcosm. This was a time in the late 17th and early 18th century when the microscope was perfected and we were looking into worlds beyond what we had known before.
And a scientific interest in categorizing the natural world and looking closely at it. And in fact, a great example of this is Rachel's own father, Friedrich Ruysch.
He was one of the most famous scientists of his day. He specialized in botany and the study of anatomy, especially human anatomy.
And he was an artist. He had a cabinet of curiosities, a collection of natural wonders that he published and illustrated himself.
Rachel's mother, on the other hand, was the daughter of one of the most famous architects in the Netherlands at this time. Perfect preparation for a woman who would spend her long life looking at infinitely small details of the natural world.
And painting these things as though they were almost scientific specimens.
But bringing them together in beautiful compositions.
What I notice are the color harmonies. So we have these reds and greens. Red and green are complementary colors. The green grapes on one side, the red on the other, balanced by the red plums on the other side of the composition.
You can see that also within individual elements. Look, for instance, at the bunch of grapes on the right side, those red-purple grapes, except that they have a little bit of a dust of powder blue. And we see the same thing in the plum on the extreme left.
The butterfly in the foreground, maybe it's a moth, that's just landing is a good reminder that Rachel's father, Friedrich, collected specimens like butterflies and preserved them, and in fact was a master at preserving parts of human anatomy and animal and insect species, and had such a famous collection that he sold it to Peter the Great, the Tsar of Russia.
I love that butterfly. It looks as if it is just about to land, but perhaps having second thoughts because it's a salamander, a small lizard.
That idea that you mentioned before of a world of its own.
This is a painting that is about slow, careful discovery, and this is an artist whose mastery rewards the patient observer.